Good morning, YouTube friends and family, and welcome to today's edition of the Wellness Homesteader. Today is episode 3 of Mayberry Memories, and it is a tribute to white beans. Now, for those of you who aren't Andy Griffith Show fans, I'm going to play a little clip for you so that you'll understand the tribute to white beans. So stay tuned for the clip.
Andy, did you like the white beans you had for supper? Well, you didn't say anything.
Well, I ate 4 bowls. If that ain't a tribute to white beans, I don't know what is.
Well,
Eating speaks louder than words.
you know your education was worth every penny of it.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed that. That was actually from season 3, episode 25. They did a lot of episodes per season back then, and it was introducing the Darlings, which were a musical group that lived up in the hills, and they would come down and create all kinds of chaos for Andy and Barney and Aunt Bee. So I'm actually going to bring you a recipe today from Aunt Bee's Mayberry Cookbook, and this is Doug's Great White Beans. So on the show, the Darlings were actually a musical group that were the Dillards in real life, and there were 4 musicians plus Mr. Darling, which his name is like Briscoe Darling. And he played the jug, so I don't think he really had any musical skill. But anyway, Doug Dillard was actually Jebbet Darlin, and he contributed this recipe for Doug's Great White Beans. And it's really kind of a funny recipe. It talks about strips of swine instead of bacon, ham of hog instead of, ham. And I'm going to change it up just a little bit. One of the things I did, I always forget about this when you pre-soak your beans overnight. They multiply. So what I actually am using is Great Northern beans. And I know a lot of us who have long-term pantries have a stock of beans. But if you stocked up on beans in lieu of COVID and the pandemic, and you're like, I don't know what to do with this, you can make a great dish of ham and beans. You can turn it into ham and bean soup. I'm thinking that I soaked so many, I'm probably gonna have to do 2 pots, so I may throw some in the crock pot and have some on the stove. So whatever type white bean you decide to use, usually on the back there's directions for an overnight soak or the boiling method. I always use the overnight soak. And one thing I wanna remind you, if you think those beans are clean, you are wrong. You should always wash your beans really well and then sort through them, because often they'll have little stones in them. Now, this particular bag did not happen to have any stones in it, so I'm kind of impressed because I believe these came from the dollar store. Not totally sure where I got them from, but it's a big batch of beautiful beans. So let me swing you around and we're gonna get started making Doug's Great White Beans. So on my stove here, I just have my enamel coated cast iron pot, and this is what 2 beans look like, and this is a huge colander. So it actually says to use 1 pound of beans, so I'm just gonna kind of scoop out, my hands are clean, about half of these. I'm gonna throw some on the floor. Oh my word, I can't cook without making a mess. But you do want to sort and pick your beans. I take out any that look weird. Sometimes you will get like a bean skin, so I usually just take those out too, because they've soaked off the bean, but it's certainly still edible. Okay, that looks like about half. I'm gonna start there and then we'll kind of go from there. Now, one of the reasons I think people don't eat beans, and beans are so nutritious and so good for you, high in fiber, high in protein. Let me just read here. These have 10 grams of protein in a 1/4 cup. And I don't know about you, but when I'm giving a tribute to white beans, I eat more than a quarter cup. 160 calories and 9 grams of fiber, which is 33% of your daily fiber requirements according to the package. So a nutritious item. Now you could cover these with water. I'm actually going to use a quart of my home canned onion broth, and I'll leave a link at the end to the video. This is actually a recipe I got from the Needy Homesteader, and let me tell you guys, I was afraid I made too much broth. Oh no, I'm getting low on this too. So hopefully we'll have some Vidalia onions and then just some white onions or yellow onions that I grow in my garden to really stock up this summer. So I'm just gonna add the broth. Now, I'm choosing not to use bacon. What it says is if you're going to use bacon, go ahead and fry it, render it, and put the cooked bacon in. Instead of that, I have here about 2 cups or so of chopped, fully cooked ham. And I received this ham, let's see, for the month of January. It was a food pantry offering, so I had it in the freezer. I thought I'm just gonna thaw it out and use it. And this is less than half of the little ham, and I can make ham salad or ham steaks or a whole bunch of different things. I've also chopped up 1 Vidalia onion, and if you don't like onion, you can certainly leave it out. And then since I'm not using bacon, I thought I would use some liquid smoke. So you don't want to get carried away with this. I'm just going to put about a teaspoon, and you can certainly salt your beans. Oh, that smoke smells really, really good. I'm not going to do that because the ham is naturally pretty salty. So let me just take a look here. You can see in the pan pretty well. Yeah, that pretty much covers my beans. I'm thinking I might get another pint of onion broth and put some more beans in, so hang tight. Okay, thankfully I can both quarts and pints, because a lot of times I will use the onion broth when I'm making rice. And if you watch the video, and again, I got this idea from the Needy Homesteader, I put a ton of turmeric. That's why it's orange like this. And turmeric, as you may know, is really good for inflammatory type diseases. And with this cold weather, I'm telling you, I have been kind of crippled up and grouchy, just to be completely honest about it, because it's been so bitterly cold. And after our 8 inches, it snowed off and on all night. It snowed some this morning, and now they're calling for a major winter storm, possibly Monday. So even though I finally got bobcatted out, it's only temporary because I'm probably going to get snowed right back in. So now that you've got all your ingredients in, and I think since I've still got a couple inches in the pot, I'm probably going to put the rest of my beans in. And if you don't have onion broth or any broth on hand, you can use water. It just adds additional flavor if you want to use broth. You could use chicken broth. You could even use beef broth. I don't know how good that would be, or vegetable broth, or just plain water. So I am going to put this on low, and let me read you the directions here. Well, I'm going to bring it up to temp, and then I'm just going to simmer it. It says, cook on low heat for 2 hours. The beans should not be overcooked, as the soup will have consistency of library paste. The broth should be fairly clear and the beans firm and not cooked to death. If you don't like beans, white beans, try them. Remember, eating speaks louder than words. Bon appetit. P.S. It goes well with hoot owl pie, which is another Darlin reference from the Andy Griffith Show. So I'm going to get this cooking. I will bring you back in a couple hours or so to show you how our tribute to white beans turned out. So stay tuned. We are back, and it's been about 2.5 hours. Forgot to turn the timer off. I decided to cook it just a touch longer. Scooch it down here, because I wanted to make sure that the beans were good and soft, but they're still, as you can see, they still hold their shape. but they're not crunchy. So I put some of the liquid in the bowl here too. And you could add carrots to this. I have some carrots as leftovers that I'm gonna put in some of this soup, and it would be fabulous with cornbread or crusty garlic bread. But let's just give it a taste. You all, I plan to give a tribute to white beans. I don't think I'm gonna eat 4 bowls. That might be a bit much even for me, but you know, nutritious meal, great thing to use some of the things on your pantry that you want to rotate. Also freeze as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this. And I forgot to tell you, Doug Dillard was the banjo player. And my dad was a very good banjo player, God rest his soul. And if you've seen in some of my videos, I actually have his banjo that he made. And it sits by my fireplace, and it's a great memory of him. So as always, be healthy, be well, be blessed, and I will see you all next week. Take care.